Goedenavond allemaal. Good evening. 大家好. So, my name is Ed Sander, and I'm going to tell you something about Alibaba in the next 15 to 20 minutes. And this basically is a presentation that's linked to an article I recently wrote for a website called China 2025. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the question, should we be afraid of Alibaba's IPO? Should we be afraid of Alibaba in general? Or should we see it as an opportunity? My personal background with China is that I spent 2 years in China as an international volunteer. I was a marketing consultant for NGOs in the city of Xi'an, and I helped them with all kinds of stuff like fundraising and online marketing. And while I was there was a website, a Dutch website called Customer Talk. It's all about CRM and online marketing and sales innovation. And they asked me if I could write about what I experienced in China. And I ended up writing 35 columns for them, which were later captured in this booklet called ChinaTalk. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to tell you how you can obtain a free ebook copy of this. So, when I came back from China, I decided that I was still so fascinated with what was going on there that I continued to write about Chinese e-commerce and Chinese social media and Chinese internet. And I do that for a platform called China2025.nl. So if you don't visit that crowd blog yet, you should definitely have a look because it's got a lot of great content about a lot of good, interesting, different topics. I also write for the Chinese Radio and Television magazine, and I'm here on behalf of ChinaTalk. It's an organization where I provide lectures and trainings about e-commerce and social media in China. So first, before I continue, I would like to show you a short clip which was produced by the New York Times, because you might not all be completely familiar with Alibaba and what it is. So just as a sort of a short introduction, I'll play you a short video.
When Alibaba, China's largest e-commerce company, goes public in New York, it could be one of the largest IPOs in the United States ever. Alibaba is an online marketplace where mostly Chinese companies and some Western companies sell their products to customers and other businesses. Jack Ma founded the company in 1999 in this small apartment with 17 others. In 2005, Yahoo bought a 40% stake in the company. Alibaba was tiny then, but now its IPO could value the company at more than $200 billion. That's more than the market value of Facebook, Amazon, or eBay.
无知者无畏，我想3个原因为什么活下来，其实这3个原因还真有道理。第一个，我们没有钱；第二个，我们不懂技术；第三，我们从来不规划。
A clear sign of how far the company has come came in November of 2013. It was Singles' Day, a sort of anti-Valentine's Day for China's unattached, and one of the country's busiest shopping days. At Alibaba's headquarters, employees watched a live tally of sales. By the end of the day, a third of China's adult population had visited its sites, and $5.7 billion of goods were sold. Alibaba had broken every sales record for a single day of shopping. And with one of the largest IPOs ever anticipated in the United States, Alibaba is today not only competing with Silicon Valley, but it has surpassed some of its giants.
做阿里巴巴，尽管我跟团队经常讲，我们会有 future， 但是我没有想到会这么大，远远超过了我的想象。
Now this picture you see here is a picture you see regularly nowadays. Whenever there's an article online which has a bit of a threatening tone about Alibaba, you see Jack Ma as some kind of evil mastermind, like he just stepped out of a James Bond movie. I personally prefer to see Jack in this picture where he's smiling and he's much more like the charismatic leader of the biggest e-commerce company in the world that he actually is. And wouldn't you be smiling if your company is bigger than Amazon and eBay combined? But still, when I was doing a presentation for the Belgian Chinese Chamber of Commerce on the 6th of May. And a day later, the official news of the Alibaba IPO was released. And immediately you saw a lot of people being very worried. Oh, is Alibaba going to the United States, and are they going to push Amazon out of the market? Are they coming to Holland? Are they a threat to bol.com? So I would argue that I think that Alibaba has more opportunities than threats. And I'm going to give you 8 reasons why I think that Alibaba has better things to do than compete on our local markets. First of all, Alibaba, like I said, it's a platform of different e-commerce platforms combined. So they started with Alibaba.com, which was business to business international. So Chinese companies selling to the international market. In the movie, you'll see how they launched Taobao, and Taobao was basically consumer to consumer, or small businesses selling to consumers in China. The movie basically ends there, but there's a lot that has happened in the 5 years after that. They launched Tmall, or Chenmao, and that's a B2C platform. So that's where manufacturers, where brands, and where also other e-tailers, other retailers can sell their stuff to Chinese consumers. And not so long ago, they also, I think it was in 2010, they launched a platform called AliExpress, and that's where we, as international buyers, can buy our stuff from China. So, besides that, they have platforms for price comparison, group buying, and Alipay. Alipay is one of the essential parts of the Alibaba Group company, which you'll also see in the movie later on. And it's basically like the Chinese PayPal, the Chinese version of PayPal. Now, 8 reasons why I think that we shouldn't be too afraid of Alibaba. The first is the market potential in their own market, in China. Currently, less than 50% of the Chinese have internet access. There's still a lot of people in rural areas that do not have a smartphone or a computer or whatever to access the internet and to go online. But it's growing very, very, very fast. Especially because there's more and more cheap models of smartphones becoming available from companies like Xiaomi. And thereby, the internet penetration will continue to grow. And besides this internet penetration, you also have a lot of people, more and more people are shopping online. As you can see, the growth in the e-commerce market will continue to boom double-digit. So there's no end to this growth. As a matter of fact, I think today I think I saw some news that it's going to be something like $300 billion US dollars in this year. So that's one of the reasons why I think that if you still have a lot of market potential, why would you focus on different international markets? The second thing is the market share that Alibaba has. If you look at their Tmall platform, their business-to-consumer platform, they own about half of the market. And their biggest competitor, JD Jingdong, has 25% of the market. Now, that's a lot of market share to lose. If you add to this the business they are doing on Taobao, it adds up to a total of about 80% of the e-commerce market that is owned by Alibaba. But another development is that the C2C market is the share of the C2C market is slowly declining, and people are buying more and more B2C. So with this, Alibaba has a threat to their Taobao platform, and they have a large market share to maintain. So also focus on their home market. The third one, so who in this audience is using WeChat? Yeah, so it's always good to talk about China to audiences. So we've actually got people that are using WeChat. This is, for the people that don't know it, this is a product by a company called Tencent. And Tencent released a chat app called WeChat, which basically was a bit like WhatsApp when it was released, but it was much more convenient because the Chinese people could use voice messages, and because it's very mafan, it's a lot of hassle and troublesome to write Chinese characters on a mobile phone. So it quickly became very popular, and when they started to add social network functionality, it became even more popular. And by now it's got about almost 400 monthly active users on this chat app. Now, this is already a threat to begin with, but when they started to add mobile commerce and mobile payment on their platform, this became a real threat for Alibaba. Because nowadays, you can top up your mobile phone credits, you can save your savings in WeChat payment, you can order taxis, you can buy movie tickets, you can do group buying, you can even pay offline. For instance, what you see on the right, you can pay at vending machines just using WeChat. So it's become even more interesting a couple of weeks ago because Alibaba now has a cooperation, a partnership with JD, Jingdong. And Jingdong is now presenting its own store inside WeChat. So this is the most used chat app, the most used app in China, and you don't even have to leave it anymore because you can buy all your stuff right in this app. And not just from JD, but also from other WeChat users. This is WeChat shops. So whereas this is competition for Tmall, this is competition for Taobao because consumers can sell to consumers. So another reason why I think Alibaba will be focusing on their own market. Then you've got people that say, oh, hold on, they are buying all of those different platforms in the United States. They've got stakes in Fanatics, they've got stakes in First Dibs, and they've got ShopRunner, what they invested in. But all of these stores were basically bought or they took a stake in and share in those companies because they want to import their goods into the Chinese market. So not to compete in the market in America. An exception is 11 Main. It's just launched, I think, last week. And this is a platform, a bit of a niche platform in the United States. But it's run by two companies that are owned by Alibaba, and they don't seem to be very much involved in how this thing is run. So even that doesn't seem to be a big threat from China. And we also shouldn't forget that if we talk about competition by Alibaba, it's already happening because that AliExpress website has been running for 4 years now. So we all can already buy stuff from AliExpress. But I think not the majority of people will do that. People that are looking for a low price and want to take the risk and want to take a longer lead time, a longer delivery time, will be shopping on those websites. The final couple of reasons. First of all, their prospectus about their IPO doesn't mention anything about international expansion. Next one, the last two, I'm not going to say too much about that because you're going to see a lot about it in the movie itself. But they've learned a lot from the mistakes that eBay made in China. And they know that local players know their own market best. They also know that there are cultural differences. They've had a merger with Yahoo, you'll see in the movie, and that didn't go down well. So they know what the problems are with international expansion. So what's it going to be? Is it going to be the nice charismatic Jack, or is it going to be evil Jack? I think personally, especially if you see the movie, I'm more interested in the charismatic Jack. I think we can learn a lot from China. First of all, if we look at some countries like Italy and France, they've already made agreements with Jack Ma, with Alibaba, to make it easier for those countries to sell their products on Taobao and Tmall. Second example, Estée Lauder. What they did, they had brick and mortar shops. They have brick and mortar shops in China, and they decided to also open up a store on Tmall. So an online store within the Alibaba platform. On the first day they launched this store, they sold more through Tmall than they do with all of their stores in 1 month. So it's probably no big surprise that Zara is now doing the same thing. They've got brick and mortar shops. They've got an e-commerce website. They are now also opening on Tmall. And even very crazy products like, who wants to go into space? This is a Dutch space travel company. And last week you could buy for about 100,000 US dollars a 5-minute trip into space. This was sold on Taobao, and they sold 300 of this. And after that they closed it, so in 1 day. So just a couple of crazy examples of the opportunities. So, like I said, we will be watching the movie tonight, and the initiative to do this is also to let people learn more about Alibaba, let them see what this company actually is, and I think that there's much more opportunities for us to sell our products as well in China than it's a major threat to our own market. Like I said, you can get a copy of the ebook at the end. We're going to put a little box on the table in the back. If you drop your Mingpian, your business card in there, and I'll send you another email that will have a download of the ebook, that will have this presentation, that will have some more articles and interesting stuff about Alibaba. So don't forget to leave your business card. Unfortunately, Porter Erisman would do a Q&A with us tonight, but he's not available because he had a different appointment, so he couldn't make it. What he did instead, he sent us a special introduction to the movie. So what we'll see now is first the introduction by Porter, and then, without further ado, the crocodile in the Yangtze. Thank you.